What's up, everybody? Jimmy Faluca is back with Frank and Mike. Guys, you having fun?
Yes, sir.
All right. Frank wanted to touch on something before we get into our fantasy booking. And Frank, I believe you have something to say about Mr. Phil Brooks, a.k.a. CM Punk. You have the floor, Frank.
Well, this talented WWE's pushing of John Cena and limiting other top stars. I saw the match yesterday on the network from February 2013. CM Punk versus John Cena to qualify to go to WrestleMania face The Rock.
That's the one with the pile. That was the match with the pile driver, correct?
Yes, and this is coming off CM Punk's almost 2-year reign when he lost to The Rock.
I tried to forget that.
Yeah, and the match was one of the best matches in recent memory, in my opinion. It went about 30 minutes, back and forth. Mind you, this is over, and it was better than probably 70% of the pay-per-view matches.
I'll agree with you on that.
Okay, and of course, John Cena won, we know that. He went on to face The Rock. And I caught this while John Cena was celebrating. Jerry Lawler comments, and I know somebody probably told him to say this over the headset. He made a reference to the Avengers movie where Hulk says, smashes Loki and says, "Can you little God?" Meaning that Cena just smashed CM Punk, like the Hulk did to Loki. And I caught that. I thought I was making a little bit too much of it, but just think of the damage that does to CM Punk. You know, that totally
You're telling me Jerry Lawler actually said that?
Oh, he is. I'm saying probably what Chick McMahon was saying.
I didn't catch
it. And now this is what my point is. Stuff like this probably contributed to CM Punk leaving. I mean, he left CM Punk. He went 2 years as champion. Had one of the best matches with John Cena, and gives John Cena credit because, you know, he did his part in the match. Then CM Punk, he goes on to have other great matches during the year. Most notably SummerSlam with Brock Lesnar, which people say that was the real match of the year.
Yeah, unlike The Rock versus John Cena 2, which was one of the worst WrestleMania main events of all time, which freaking Yokozuna versus Bret Hart from WrestleMania 9 was way better than that.
Right, but here you have CM Punk. He should be a top guy. He could do everything that a top guy could do. He's one of the qualified in the ring.
No, Frank, no, he doesn't.
The best promos. He cuts the best promos, right? His pipe bombs are legendary.
No, Frank, he doesn't do everything a top guy should do. He doesn't kiss corporate ass, and that's one of the reasons why they didn't want him. Because let's tell the truth about CM Punk. CM Punk was not like the rest of the wrestlers in the back that are told what to do and they're just going to eat shit and like the taste of it. You have to understand something. CM Punk was one of the last territorial wrestlers that understood how the business was supposed to work. See, let's try to educate the audience. See, ladies and gentlemen, before the WWE became everyone likes to they became a publicly traded company. They were a publicly traded company from the year, I believe it was, 2000 or 2001, Frank, when they went public for $1 million?
Yeah, right after they took over WCW.
Okay, well, they were a public company from then all the way to now. And from about 2001, from 2000 all the way up to, I would say, about 2008, they were a publicly traded company, but they did a lot of violence. They did a lot of risque stuff. So when people turn around and say, "Oh, they can't do the things they used to do because they're a publicly traded company," that's not true because they were a publicly traded company for 8 years with risque content on their program. The problem is, and no one likes to talk about this, the WWE became politically correct due to the Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero deaths, because those deaths forced the government to look at the WWE. Because, Eddie Guerrero, obviously, human life, he died. Obviously, that was years of drug abuse. Chris Benoit's situation, it was a double murder-suicide. So, of course, the government was going to look into that, and authorities were going to look into that. But what did the Go ahead.
I said those two cases also came smack right in the middle of all the other steroid abuse cases in terms of like pharmacists and drugs and all the sports like baseball and stuff like that too. So
no, absolutely
cracking down on all types of sports.
No, absolutely. But what was the WWE's response to that? The WWE's response to that was to turn into a PG rating. And what have they paid with? They've paid with their television ratings. They've paid with their viewership. They have paid with their fan base because they've lost a lot of that. I mean, Frank, I would say you and Mike are more of an expert than I am. You tell me, what have their ratings done since around 2006, 2007, when all this was implemented? Didn't it start to take a nosedive and start to hit some of the worst ratings they've ever had?
Not the worst ratings, but the measuring stick is during the Attitude Era when they were doing like 4.5 and 4.8 like that. And now they draw around 3.8, maybe on a great week 4. But their thinking is at least they have a 3.84 rating instead of something bad happening and where they might have to lose everything.
During the Monday Night Wars, it was a lot lower. It was all over the big WCW was late work.
Well, I'll tell you what, Frank. This is what I say. If there was another company that forced them to actually be competitive, their political correctness would go right out the window. But because
of course, listen, they had to pull out all the stops, they had to pull out all the stops. And again, everybody keeps pointing to that era. Look who you had in that era. You had The Undertaker, you had The Rock, you had Stone Cold, you had DX. I mean,
but you want to know what the key is? Those talents are special. Each and every one of them are special. But as a quote from Jim Ross, we were forced to use people that we thought the audience would enjoy. Now, let's just pretend that there is a rival wrestling organization that is now pulling ahead of WWE in the ratings. If the WWE had to go with people that the crowd enjoyed, and they had to start to use differently people that the crowd hates, who would they be using more of in a positive way?
I don't know, but what do you want them to do? They can make Bray Wyatt crucify somebody or sacrifice somebody. I mean, we could see stuff like that. You can.
I think you need the Wyatt family. You need like. I guess you just.
You understand what I'm saying? If you want to turn up the dial, how many on the line? Why not more crazy things?
Explain it a little more. Explain it a little more. Let's learn about the Wyatt family people. What their points and stuff about. Maybe that'll make that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what I was asking for was not an example of what they would do. What I was asking is if the WWE had to listen to their audience and they had to push certain people as big-time heroes and certain people as big-time villains, what kind of changes do you think we would see if they had no choice but to actually listen to their audience? And not just the casual viewers, but the ones that are actually loyal to their product.
If they had competition like they had back then.
Yes. Who would they be using more of? Because I could tell you who I think they'd be using more of and who would be used in different capacities.
All right, hey, give me an example.
Well, I'll tell you right now. If the WWE had to listen to their audience, your top baby faces would be Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, Bray Wyatt, and the Shield guys would be top guys, but they would be used properly. Seth Rollins.
They're the top guys now. What are you talking about?
No. You're not listening. They would be the tippy top baby faces in the company. And your major heels, right at the top, John Cena would be a fucking heel. Because when you gotta listen to your audience, that means you have to listen to the wrestling fans. Because they are the ones paying. Vince McMahon likes to throw around John Cena feeds us. No, Vince. We feed you because we give you our money. So our opinions should matter. And you want to know what's funny? All the hatred for the internet fans didn't start until John Cena's reign. Now, Frank, am I not right on that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Because the whole focus is everybody hates John Cena and they want him to turn heel.
I don't even think that it's that they want him to be heel. They want something different from him.
Right, they want him to change. And I suggest this with this. Make him wrestle different, though. Change up that style a bit. Forget the knuckle shuffle, throw out some new moves,
You know what's funny, though, Frank? When he got over, he was cool. He was a cool character. He isn't cool anymore. And I think that's the problem. When we were growing up, and we were looking up to guys like Steve Austin, The Undertaker, The Rock. They were cool characters, and you want to know something? You wanted to be tough like they are. I feel bad for the kids that are growing up today that want to look up to John Cena. If someone tries to pick a fight with you, what are you going to do? You're going to go, you can't see me? The kids are going to laugh. They're going to laugh at you.
Oh, it's just a different society now. You can't have people saying, giving the middle finger,
Oh, please. Let me tell you something. My generation isn't as tough as my dad's generation, but we're a hell of a lot tougher than these kids that are friggin' coming up. I feel terrible for them. I feel sorry for these kids.
Oh, that's another story. Every generation goes down a couple notches.
Like I said, I think that it would if they had competition today, it would be just like old school wrestling. The ones that the people cheer would be the heroes, and the people that the fans boo would be the villains. And honestly, isn't that how wrestling is supposed to be run? Or am I just a know-it-all who thinks I know how the business is supposed to work?
But Vince McMahon doesn't look at it as a husband business. He looks at it as an entertainment company.
Well, Vince McMahon needs to get his head out of his ass because all the houses...
He's always looked at it.
Yeah, but you want to know what? He may have looked at it that way, Michael. He may have looked at it that way. But the years that were the most prosperous for him, he booked it like it was a wrestling company.
At this point, I don't even know if he's looking at it as more prosperous.
I understand he looks at it. I understand that he looks at it as an entertainment company. But at the end of the day, no matter how hard they try, they will always be known as a wrestling company. They will never be known as sports entertainment because, let's be very honest, has any of us, any of the three of us, or any of the viewers that are watching, have any of us ever turned around and said, and I'm stealing this line from my favorite manager, by the by, did you ever turn around and say, hey, did you see sports entertainment last night? Or, hey, there's sports entertainment coming to New York, let's go see it. Hey, did you get your sports entertainment tapes? It's fucking wrestling.
Right.
And I would be proud to be part of wrestling at that level, but they're not. For whatever reason, and Jim Cornette and Jim Ross have said several times that Vince was always ashamed that he was in the wrestling business. At first, he called it sports entertainment to try to con the advertisers, but then he started feeding it to the talent. And you want to know what's funny? He'll never admit this, but all the money Vince McMahon's ever, and I can say this, all the money Vince McMahon's ever made with the words WWF or WWE, all the money that he's ever made to send his kids to school, the houses he lives in, the food he eats, he's made that money off the wrestling business. That's just a fact. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I think he made the money when he turned it into an entertainment company.
Okay, that's your opinion.
Well, he's talking about when it went from, Bob Backlund wrestling 60-minute matches to Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania.
I still say that the Hulkamania run was still professional wrestling. It's still pro wrestling.
Yeah, but not compared to every other wrestling companies. A lot of the wrestling companies back then, looked down on WWF because Vince booked it as an entertainment company. Right, but it was considered WWF as glitz and glamour, cartoon characters, and shit on the wrestling, the actual wrestling. And when in the underground, you had guys like Ric Flair and Tony Blanchard and Dusty. You saw me in the late 90s having Goofy Dumpster Dorsey, Tony the Clown, the Godwin,
that was the WWE at their lowest compared to now.
But Jimmy, that's not a wrestling company. That's an entertainment company.
Yeah, but what is proof positive of my point, Mike, is that when they were doing those stupid characters, their profitable business was at their lowest. When they were pushing characters like that, animal characters, dentists, cartoon characters, when they were doing that, in the mid to early 90s, that was them at their lowest. But I'll tell you what, the face of WWE, which was, in my opinion, the greatest face of WWE, didn't wear crazy outfits. He wore black boots, black trunks, and had a rotten attitude and wanted to go in that ring and kick the shit out of someone.
That's what it changed. But it changed with different type of entertainment.
Well, to me, I will never look at Stone Cold Steve Austin as a strict. I will never look at Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, The Rock.
I have to point you in 1 second. I have to point you in 1 second. One of the biggest storylines of all time in wrestling history, right? It's Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes.
Right? They didn't even wrestle.
Because Vince McMahon was
you tune in every week during the Monday Night Wars and stuff like that. You were entertained with flying film and throwing a gun on Stone Cold Steve Austin. Having a porn star sitting there with a bubble bag with Jenna James and stuff like that. It wasn't wrestling. Right. And now on the entertainment company. And on the flip side of that, during the era of all the cartoon characters you just mentioned, who was the champion? Bret Hart, right? Yeah, I guess the only non-cartoon character that I had. Bret Hart was probably, his gimmick is wrestling. He is the most pure technical wrestler.
But the problem was in the mid-90s was that the WWE had great main events but terrible undercards. That's why the business was at their lowest. When you have main events that tear down the house and a mid-card that keeps the crowd going, that's when you're going to be thriving. They didn't have that in the mid-90s.
Right, they only had 2 or 4 guys who carried the company, and the rest was just a supporting cast.
Throwaway guys, and you can't have that. You have to have a strong mid-card. You have to have a strong main event.
But now, see, we can give you the argument now that the roster, you're going to show every match has almost a main event match from top to bottom.
You want to know what else annoys me? And I had a friend of mine tell me this, and it actually made me cringe. I believe it was last Monday or the week before. How many minutes is Raw every week? 100.
It's 3 hours, but you probably get 42 minutes of wrestling.
No, it was lower. It was 34 minutes of wrestling.
I consider Raw just a big infomercial.
And I think that that's one of the bad things about the show. I mean, they spend more time with commercials and promoting the fucking app than actually letting these guys get in there and apply their craft. How do you explain?
I don't think the attention span of the wrestling fan today would span every match going on.
No, but their ratings and their network subscriptions are through the roof because of all the promotions they do for it, right, Mike? Please.
I'm not saying that. But I know you have to fill the time with something. And you obviously can't do it anymore.
I'm not saying have the entire show be all in-ring matches, but Jesus Christ. You got 3 hours and you can only give me 34 minutes of actual in-ring work? Come on. That's retarded. They have no excuse for that.
I'm not condoning what they're doing. I'm just saying that this is the reason why they're doing it.
Well, most people will turn around and say, you can't criticize WWE because they have money and you don't. But you know what I'll always turn around and say? You can't win a one-person race. At the end of the day, you can't win a one-person race. You're not going to run so fast when nobody's chasing you, and that's why I think that the business is going to suffer in the long run because there's no competition. And unless the WWE turns around and says, listen, we have no competition, so we need to start upping shit up because otherwise we're going to lose what momentum we have. You know,
they're not going to lose momentum. I mean, nothing's ever going to happen to WWE.
Well, if they're
never going to go after it. It's never going to happen.
They're just going to remain where they are right now, and
100%. It's the same thing. They're going to continue to just the same garbage for the next who knows how long. So we're going to continue to watch it.
Well, you want to know? You want to know what I turn around and say, Mike? The mentality. And this is also directed to the COO, which I doubt he ever looks on the internet for anything. But the mentality of, let's do whatever the hell we want because they're going to watch anyway, I think is one of the biggest kisses of death for wrestling today. When you have that mentality of let's just do whatever the hell we please because the fans are going to watch anyway, I think that does a disservice to the crowd that spends their hard-earned money to come and see your product. And I think the WWE does not appreciate their audience. I don't even think they know who their audience is. They don't have any identity.
It's not it's who they target, and they're targeting, the 6, 7-year-olds, the 22-year-olds, and the 23-year-olds,
They are not targeting 20-year-olds, because if they were, the product would be a lot edgier. They're targeting toddlers. And it shows who they're targeting. It shows who they're targeting because their business isn't as good.
But think about how smart the children that young.
Yes, that's creating new fans. That's what I was about to say. You gotta create a new fan.
Well, what are you gonna do when those kids? What are you gonna do when those kids grow up? What are you gonna do when those kids grow up? You're gonna
keep creating it for the younger kids. People keep having children.
Yeah, so it's gonna be G-rated for all of eternity from now on. Oh,
it's not G-rated. You gotta understand this. You gotta think of it as the business side. They target the young audience that we just mentioned. They're the ones who buy all the merchandise, the toys. Most of them buy the merchandise, the toys, the games. So they don't mind losing, guys that are 25, 30, or my age, whatever.
There's a lot of guys in their mid-20s, early 20s, whatever. I mean, early 30s, whatever, right? That just stop watching it anyway.
Yeah, right. Those guys are expendable. To them, you're expendable. You want to keep watching. Stay a lifelong fan, or hey, we're gonna get more fans. We just created a new 7-year-old fan. There's gonna be fans for the next 10 years.
There's a group of people that I know personally, like you guys, that enjoy wrestling the way I do, right? But my close personal friends, I don't know anyone that knows any of the garage. It's not that many of us, believe it or not.
Right. We're the hardcore audience. And
you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, we're responsible.
Right, and the hardcore audience is, no matter how much you are, you're going to keep watching, and you can complain, but you're going to keep watching.
If you want to keep, at the end of the day, parents will spend money on this for it's a good option to get their kids for all this stuff that they're going to do with it. You know what I'm saying? The John Cena, the whole nonsense. Like, you shut down this road. Put it up.
Right. It's a tough thing. At least so far, they still give you a little something for us. There's a reason why we keep watching still. So, yeah.
I laugh at all those sentiments.
I know, but Jimmy, there's really, you gotta look at it from their side of,
their side is wrong. Their side is 150% wrong, and I have.
How is it wrong if they make a money?
I'm trying to explain, if you'll let me. It's very simple. It's very simple. When they thrived financially the most, they geared to the 18 to 34 demographic. They made the most money. And no one's going to tell me they make more money now because the dollar is completely inflated. $19.98, $19.99 was worth a hell of a lot more than money from the last 5 to 6 years since the inflation. They made more money off us.
When they were talking that demographic, they were doing some crazy things on TV that I didn't do it.
Yes, there's no way to do stuff like that on TV.
They had confirmation up and trying to cut out the people on television. And made them get work way.
Yeah,
they had Keen have sex with a dead body.
I don't think that all those things that you guys just listed were the reason people were tuning in, but hey.
A lot of people,
that was the reason why they were turning into a 100%. They knew what was going to happen. They're going to be crazy stuff. why would you want to do it? See what's going forward to do it.
I feel that I don't ask for much as a wrestling fan. What I ask for is very simple. Give me a storyline with some characters that I find interesting, make the story compelling, and make the matches intense. That is not asking much.
But Jimmy, if somebody from WWE was staying here, they would say, well, do you still watch? Why do you still watch? You know, you need to tell me you watch every week, and you're not happy, and there's nothing there for you. There's obviously something there that keeps you drawn in.
It's a simple 4-letter word.
Hope.
Yes.
Well, that's what it is, maybe you should do,
something, though, as a paying customer, I shouldn't have to hope for them to do better. It's like being a New York Mets fan. I've been a New York Mets fan for as long as I can remember, and I'm miserable every year. And I'm miserable every year when I watch that friggin' team.
I'm really sorry to hear that, Paul. Alright, let's take that for just now. Let's just take the Mets. They stink. So you have the audience, the hardcore audience that's going to watch every game, no matter how good or how bad they are. And then what you do, they're not going to spend the money in the players. They're never going to come and you're still going to watch. Right. And then we have the guys like Lady Me, who tuned out a few years ago, That's it. I'm over. And then you have the young fans who don't know that the Mets are horrible. They're going to be fans because
how do you have brain power and not know that the Mets are horrible?
When we saw Rivera 6 years ago, 7 years ago, you don't care because, like you said, they have that 500 hope. One day the Mets are going to be good.
And on that lovely note, I'm going to leave this segment and finish. And we're gonna go into the last segment in a few seconds.
Okay.
I'm gonna end this segment with a simple quote from my favorite comedian, and people take this however they want. Fuck the children. They gotta grow up. They gotta grow up. Grow up, please. I am so sick and tired of this obsessive compulsion towards children. I grew up with middle fingers and sacrifices in my face on wrestling, and I turned out just fine. Yeah, well. Guys, me, Frank, and Mike will be back for our final segment with some interesting, fantasy booking on Brock Lesnar. Stay tuned.